5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to Speaking Cinema, Serious Movie Jibber Jabber, a movie podcast. I am your host. With me are Kevin.
Hello.
Matt.
Hi.
Bit of an introduction here, because this is the first episode, the pilot episode. There are a lot of podcasts. This is one of them. And just like most podcasts, this podcast will be about movies. Movie podcasts cover many elements of motion pictures. For example, the Slash Filmcast is a podcast that reviews recent movies. The Canon is dedicated to determining the most important movie. Killer POV is a horror podcast about horror news and reviews. How Did This Get Made is a podcast celebrating the worst movies, and maybe my favorite podcast of all time.
It is the best podcast ever made in the history of everything.
Script Notes is a podcast on screenwriting and things that are interesting to screenwriters. The Business and the Treatment are podcasts about film industry news. There are many more. All of those that I mentioned are great, and I highly recommend all of them. But this podcast won't be any of those. We have nothing to prove about the medium, no thesis other than that we love movies.
Yes, we do.
If you're a silver screen fiend, a cinephile, a movie enthusiast, you watch movies, then you have a conversation about them. It's how we celebrate our love for movies, and that's what we want to do here. When you find a movie you like, you share it with your friends, you hear about something you haven't seen, then you seek it out. So me, Matt, and Kevin, and maybe some guests in the future are going to do that. We'll pick a movie, we'll talk about that movie, talk about what we know about it, its cast, its crew, the genre, its time period. Then we'll watch that movie, and we'll have a discussion. It's not about latest, greatest, best. It's not about the worst. We might never have seen it. Might be something we were revisiting. It's not about cult. It's not about mainstream. And we're not here to be positive or negative. There's no, goal in the beginning. We're just going to watch what interests us, and I hope you guys are interested too. Because when it comes to film reviews, especially on the internet, I feel like people are seeking consensus, which is usually measured in perceived box office success, or what a bunch of reviewers think on Rotten Tomatoes, calculated and distilled down to a percentage. But how useful is that? We're not executives, we're not shareholders in film studios, so what's the relevance of box office number? What does that mean to someone personally? Does a Rotten Tomatoes ranking have any meaning? We don't know the context of those reviews. If a reviewer likes a genre that you don't like, if they like comic book movies and you hate comic book movies, isn't that relevant? That number isn't going to tell you, like, hey, people are really feeling the zeitgeist right now. Or if you're not part of that, or if you are, it's not a contextually relevant number. I think we all know that deep down, movie reviews and box office are not what matters. Film is a personal medium, and whatever is important to you is whatever is important to you. The center of the movie universe is your heart. And with that in mind, the idea here is you're going to get to know our tastes, our biases, our history, our context, so that when we talk about movies, what we like or dislike, you'll know what we bring to the table. If you listen to people talk about movies, listen to the Movie Jibber Jabber, you should know the taste of the people talking. Long story short, this podcast is a conversation about movies, a testament to our love for the medium, context for a review, and an expression for our collective fandom. All right, Kevin, Matt.
Completely agree with that.
My first question to both of you: do you agree with that, Kevin? Like cut of your jib.
I'm going right to the throat. I agree with that. So it's movies to me are a combination of all the great art forms. There's sound, music, visuals, there's acting, writing, and the director to oversee all of it. And that's why I really latch on to films, because it's such a unique medium to do a lot of different things.
Collaborative.
A very collaborative medium that creates this one, hopefully great product. And that's why I've really latched on to my love of cinema.
Yeah, I do love movies a lot, because you get to see a personal statement made on film, and it's all encompassing. You get ideas from all walks of life, and it's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
Roger Ebert has a great quote about that movies are machines that generate empathy, and it's all a window into people who are going through this world with us. I'm paraphrasing the quote, but that's
it's
really,
okay. You can paraphrase. We don't,
we're not going to be exact on here, but
Strongly disagree.
but yeah, I think that's a really great summation of what makes film great and why it's relevant.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so you guys would agree that the center of the movie universe is your heart, or is it IMDb?
Oh.
Is it the star rating when you go to information on the cable box?
Oh no.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing, and you know,
There are some great films with 5 stars on IMDb, 5 out of 10.
oh, okay.
You just gotta seek them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about hype. You know, a movie that comes out straight to DVD could be, you know, a hidden gem versus some garbage that they just throw out at you in the movie theaters with a big release and a big marketing campaign. You know, it's all relative.
And vice versa.
And vice versa, definitely.
So, the way we picked our first 6 movies, we had a Google Doc. We all voted. You know, someone would put something up, but if the other 2 picked it as well, then we're gonna do it. Some of these movies I've never seen. Some of them I've never seen the version that we're gonna see. Some of them I picked, and you know, chances are, you know, you guys are gonna hate them. So this is not. It's not gonna. We're gonna approach it, and however we feel about it is however we're gonna feel about it. But it's not gonna be influenced by, you know, rumors about celebrities or, you know, perceived box office, whatever, or this or that, the other thing. It's just gonna be what we think going into it. We're trying to keep it pure, which is impossible, but we strive for excellence here on the Jibber Jabber.
What's in the frame? That's
Right.
what we care about.
all
Exactly.
about mise en scène, guys. Mise en scène. And I mean, I think it's important to know. I mean, where we all come from in terms of movie love and movie things. We come from. No, let's cut it there.
Where do I come from?
No,
We're not cutting nothing.
leave it in. I mean, you are
Horror fan? Like, what my tastes?
No, I'm talking about your in terms of critiquing and analyzing movies. You come from a person who loves movies, no matter how good, how bad. You just love seeing movies. You love love them, and you're a graduate of film program and
Allegedly illustrious. But yeah, I mean, we all have different I mean, do we want to get into that, or?
no, I mean just to give a context of how. Just so that
Sure,
you know
yeah.
how
If I had the money and the time, I would literally see every movie that came out. I probably would, if I was able to execute that, I'd probably immediately regret it. But, you know, in my mind's eye, that is like the perfect existence, would be going to everything and seeing everything. But,
And then Kevin, you said you worked on movies.
Mm-hmm. And graduate of Eastern Washington University.
allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
None of this podcast will be actionable. None of it.
And
It's all off the record.
exactly. And I'm coming from film school dropout, so you kind of get a feel for everyone's.
Yeah, so we just had to find a fourth co-host that actually went to a real film school, and then we're gonna be number 1, baby.
Exactly, unstoppable. But you know, I think it's important to get an idea of where our tastes come from.
Yeah, and that'll come up, and you know, we'll get into some questions with these movies, and you know, it'll be a little film club, and yeah, maybe with that we should go into our first movie, which I picked. Coming up. All dreams require sacrifice. This week on the Jibber Jabber, Starry Eyes from 2014. If you're not familiar, a young starlet uncovers the ominous origins of the Hollywood elite and enters into a deadly agreement in exchange for fame and fortune. Starry Eyes is a horror movie written and directed by Kevin Kolich and Dennis Weidmar. I know I pronounced that wrong. We're not going to do it again. This is their second film together, writing and directing as a duo. Their first was 2009's Absence, which was a very small movie that, to my knowledge, cannot be purchased legally and is not distributed widely as such.
Black market, or
What do you mean black market?
it's not available widely.
I mean, it was like a festival movie, and it's not really. There was literally no release. It is a movie that exists only on people's computers to be shared between other people's computers.
Yeah.
So don't seek that one out, people. It's not there. This film was partially funded through Kickstarter and was aided by the support of author Chuck Palahniuk and his fans. Weidmar runs Chuck Palahniuk's website, so little connection there.
All right.
Starry Eyes had its world premiere at South by Southwest, followed by a very limited theatrical run. It played here in LA. I missed it at the Cine Family, where it only played once, and I wanted to go to that. Whatever. It was on a lot of the best of 2014 lists, especially where horror was concerned. As of this recording, it's on Netflix Instant. You could also rent or buy it on iTunes, Vudu, Sony, and Xbox, Google Play, and Vimeo. It's also available on physical discs, if that's of interest to you, and if that is, I'm sure you know where to purchase your own discs. It's also available on demand. I assume if you have cable and you're tethered by a cable, figure that out.
That was your plug for Sony, Xbox, Google, iTunes. Are we gonna see any?
Well, if you go to isitstreaming.com, you can just kind of easily
I know.
it'll list those, but it doesn't tell you what cable providers put.
But
it
are we
out.
getting any money for?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
This podcast
plugs,
is brought
no.
to you only by our love of movies. There is no sponsor for the pilot episode.
Which we are bankrupt.
Yes, well, running in the red. So, I picked this movie because, as I said, I wanted to see it and I missed it. And I also think, just as a pilot episode, it's a movie about entertainment and about making entertainment, which I think is something relevant to us three. And three, it's horror, which is my preferred allegorical category. How do you feel about that, Matt?
About horror?
About everything I just said. It's also written right here if you need to reread that.
Let me just put on my bifocals here.
No thoughts. Kevin.
This movie seemed to me what David Cronenberg's Map to the Stars wanted to be, or Maps to the Stars wanted to be. So that's why I'm intrigued to see it and watch it and discuss it.
Well, okay, so what you bring me my second question is, have you heard of this movie, Matt?
I have not heard of this movie.
And me and I showed you this movie.
Yes,
Correct me
I
if I'm
learned
wrong,
it from...
Yes, so, I saw this trailer as I get all my trailers from YouTube when I'm supposed to be working. And I saw it, and it was, I was very blown away by it. And as a horror fan, every time I see a good horror movie, and then the buzz on it was really good. So that brings me to my next question is, are you a horror fan?
I enjoy some horror movies. There is a lot of horror movies that are out that kind of play on the old tired cliches, and it's also a way that studios will make a horror movie because it's a quick buck. Horror, thriller, sci-fi, fantasy. They know that they have a very loyal target audience, so they can churn out any type of horror, any permutation of horror genre, and people will go see it whether it's good or bad.
Strongly disagree. Kevin, you fan horror?
Moving on.
Yes and no. I enjoy the... I think horror is a good blank canvas for some really strong filmmakers. They can do horror in a lot of different ways. And I enjoy seeing what the really... filmmakers with a lot of vision really tackle horror.
So you like we're gonna spoiler for episode 3, but It Follows is a movie like
Yes.
that. The Babadook, which we have not seen, but is reported to be a movie like that. You're getting a lot of independent people making horror movies that they're not horror people. They'll just make one or two, and it's kind of in the vein of what you're talking about. Going back to what Matt was talking about, I don't think. I mean, listen, homie. It's
talk.
listen. Can we bring the house lights down? We're gonna get deep here. I do think that movies is a business. It's show business, right? It's a business, but there's artistic part of it too. I think right now horror is dominated in the mainstream is dominated by Blumhouse, which they do all the Sinister, Paranormal Activity. They've
found footage.
They've done a lot of found footage. Not a lot of those. Fox put out Devil's Due, which if you're listening to this and you don't know what that is, you're not alone. Most people did not see that movie.
I remember laughing at the trailer when I saw it.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was a depressing romp. But there's a lot. There's a lot of horror right now is dominated on the mainstream wise with Blumhouse, who goes through Universal. But then in terms of indie horror is all VOD titles and kind of smaller releases. The House of the Time. There's another there's that one that it was the horror comedy that was vampires. What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, so there's a lot of limited theatrical VOD good horror that's being put out there. You know what I mean? And in terms of genre stuff, it's mostly right now, as of this recording in April of 2004 or 2015.
2004.
I don't know why it's 2004.
back in time
Yeah, back in time. So in 2000,
simpler
April of
times.
2004, this superhero thing is burning out. What's really hot is horror remakes from of slasher movies. House of Wax gonna come out pretty soon. Super stoked. No, right now, genre stuff is a lot of sci-fi and superhero is kind of melding together. And fantasy is just like Lord of the Rings and Seventh Son. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think the horror crowd is mainstream wise is pretty underserved. I think that we get one during Halloween time. We don't really get too many summer ones.
We
these
say
days.
one during Halloween time. You mean like theatrically?
Yeah, theatrically.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's always they say,
And also by a major studio and or Lionsgate, which is
if you're gonna have
in there for this.
a horror movie, it's usually gonna be a rehash. It's gonna be like Amityville Horror. It's gonna be
Which, by the way, a sequel to that is a rehash is coming out soon.
they have the 3D one.
No, it's
Amityville 3D?
Amityville Awakening, I believe.
Oh, well, they need to remake Amityville.
I'm surprised it's not
3D.
Amityville Rising the way movie sequel titles are these days.
I would watch that. But no, the mainstream wise, I don't think that's true. I think it's a lot of original ideas that are just like The Purge, and things like Unfriended just come out as of this recording. So I'm gonna say that like 17 more times. This weekend, Unfriended came out, the one that's all Skype,
Yeah,
It takes place.
which
all,
by the way
all
is a critical darling as from what I've been
Really?
doing.
It's, last I checked, it was 70% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Which, by the way, we don't care about.
Yeah, which we don't care about.
But interesting. It's interesting that you think a movie like that would be bagged by everyone.
I will bag it as a gimmicky and novelty and children actors. Not since the days of Spielberg that children actors have become inherently terrible.
Also, I don't think they're children actors, but
They're kids.
But
you
also-
know? This is
also that movie was all shot in one take. Interesting.
I recently read that as well.
All right.
And,
cost $1 million.
It cost $2 million. Let's move on from that to so this movie is about an outsider trying to someone who moves to LA to become an entertainment business. None of us are LA natives, so when and why did you come to LA? Start with Kevin this time. By the way, we're never going to start with me.
and why would we? So I'm originally from Spokane, Washington, a little town in eastern Washington. So grew up watching movies a lot in my house, going to the local art house theater when it reopened.
Oh, art house theater, interesting.
The Magic Lantern went through a few different owners, but as I was sort of coming of age in my film understanding, they opened up again, and I saw a lot of great films there. And again, went to film school at Eastern Washington University. Worked for a local company called North by Northwest Productions, where my first job was John Carpenter's last film, The Ward, or latest film, I should say, where I was.
Tragically, his last movie.
Where he,
Let's hope not.
Was that
We love John Carpenter.
Amber Heard?
Amber Heard, Jared Harris, Mamie Gummer, who is Meryl Streep's daughter.
I did not know that.
It's a good cast.
That's
and,
some trivia here for you.
Exactly. And
That IMDb can
that you can easily look up on the internet. But yeah, I knew somebody who worked for North by Northwest and got a job as a production assistant on that. And then after that, there really wasn't consistent enough film work in Spokane. And so I was like, I was ready to leave. I had my college degree. I didn't see much reason to stay around my hometown. So a friend and I moved to LA. And
Cool.
we also like the sunshine and the beach. So
Yeah,
that's
oh,
why
yeah.
we came to LA.
Yeah, that's you pay a heavy tax for that, but it's totally worth it.
Indeed.
yes, it is. All
Matt?
right. Well, I grew up in San Francisco Bay Area. Moved to Seattle for stupid reason. I'm not going to get into that.
Does it have to do with movies? If not, it doesn't matter.
Nope, does no relevance to movies. Then I moved to Austin to pursue the film,
A place very relevant to movies.
but not when I moved there because they moved all the productions to Georgia and Louisiana because the tax breaks were better there. So, and no one's really a film person in Austin. It's a music town, so there's not really much work there unless you want to work on Friday Night Lights when they're shooting or
Which, by the way, I would have.
Or when Chef rolled into town. We could have been a production assistant on Chef.
but they probably hire their own.
They
the
probably
person
have
got
their own
crew. They don't not hiring some.
There's probably some local schleps, you know what I mean?
Right.
And the people I did know that did the film, they weren't really. They were kind of like, we're just working on commercials, and it was really competitive. So no, and then move back to LA. 'Cause I want to be back in California and, jumpstart any sort of career in film that I might want to pursue. Also go back to school. So, just welcome back to LA to live the dream, so to speak.
I feel like some people are going to take issue with you saying that it's not a film town in Austin, which is fine, and they can reach us on Twitter at Nerdist. Just send all of your hate mail to @NERDIST.
Our intern, Mr. Hardwick, will handle your complaints.
Shout out Chris Hardwick. So I also am from the San Francisco Bay Area. Imagine that, Matt.
Crazy as it may sound.
As it may sound, me and Matt have known each other since literally we were 8 years old. Maybe younger? Preschool, whatever age you are. That we could. We don't need to look it up online. We could just think about that, but we're not going to go there. Also, like Kevin, huge fan of movies. Me and Matt would go to the our local cinema was a Century movie theater in Mountain View.
I guess now owned by Regal.
Is it now owned by Regal?
Probably.
So that was based on nothing, or whatever.
It's owned by Safeway.
Just imagine a Regal. Just imagine going to a shitty Regal cinema.
Oh, you're talking about an equivalent experience.
Yes. Because I don't think people are gonna know.
I love that place, man. It was huge. You could buy ice cream there, which no movie theater since that I've been to has done that. If you have
like scoop in a cone ice cream,
scoop in a cone or scoop in a cup, whatever you wanted, bro.
Well, actual had to scoop.
Yeah, it actually had to scoop. Yeah,
that's impressive.
Yeah,
because usually it's all the prepackaged.
Yes, and the dibs. Yeah, the dibs. Nature's disappointment. Dibs.
Dibs. I don't want to talk about dibs.
Yeah. We'll get away from dibs. I don't want to.
Stop saying dibs.
This is not a dibs podcast.
So yeah, huge fan of movies. I went to college in the Bay Area. Allegedly, I moved to LA in 2010. Or 2008 rather, so I spent from 2008 to 2010 worked on productions in terms of being a schlepper, aka a PA. If people don't remember, that was a terrible time in terms of economy, so didn't really work out. I'm gonna go ahead and say partially my fault, also because money, global economic collapse, future unwritten, etc.
Sounds like Terminator 2 logline.
That is my Terminator 2 logline. And then I got a job at a dub house, which is something that I will not explain at this point because it would just be way too long. But basically, it's a post-production place.
Let's explain it.
It's a post-production place that you don't do editing. You deliver your final thing, and then they make copies of it, which sounds really simple, but it's actually really complicated. It's also where I met Kev.
Yep.
Kind of more of a desk job than anything creative. You're on the back end. You're on the tail of the snake. You're not at the sweet spot in the front. You know what I mean? You're really in that tail.
Yeah.
But so that's our histories right there. Rounding successes, podcast.
$1 million idea.
So moving on. This movie is partially funded on Kickstarter. What do you guys take on that?
Kickstarter, I mean, it's kind of strange because a lot of celebrities like the guy who did Ren and Stimpy, and I think Spike Lee and Aaron McGruder all use Kickstarter to get
Who's Aaron McGruder?
Boondocks.
The Boondocks.
Ah.
Yeah. So all those celebrities are using Kickstarter as a way to get funding. Otherwise, there would be no funding for these projects because no studio wants to touch it or they don't have any interest in it. So I think it's interesting that directors and producers are using it as a way to get money, but it's Kickstarter is kind of weird because if you don't meet your goal, you don't get that money. You just
you gotta go big or go home.
Yeah, so
which is my log line for Kickstarter.
I mean, it's good that you don't have to go through the channels of trying to go to a studio or even just try, because millions of people want to do that because they all want to make it in the movies. They want to sell an idea. They want to be in the industry, but they don't have like a way to do it because you need all sorts of different things to get to that point. But this is like you can
the things you're speaking of are perhaps an idea, connections,
all that stuff that's necessary in this town. And Kickstarter, you can bypass all that, but there's a other side to that where if you don't have a good product even initially to put out there, but you need money to generate a worthwhile preview or implication of what you're going to do, then it's going to fall flat. So it's
So now that you've described Kickstarter, what is your take on it? Is this a good thing, a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. I think that trying to get funding from the general public, people who share a common interest in what you want to do, is good, because otherwise there's no other way to do it. Aside from just saving up money and doing it yourself independently.
Right.
But this is, at least getting some...
Which is not very practical.
Just getting some charity.
Unless you're Zach Braff.
Whoa there.
Ooh.
Throwing down names. It's a double-edged sword, Kickstarter. I think it is good that there is an outlet where if everybody in town has rejected this movie, that they can get somewhere to get some funding and see their vision realized. The other part of that is sometimes their vision is terrible. And there might be a reason it got rejected from everybody, is the thing. Like, this is one...
So you were not a fan of that Sweet Blood of Jesus? Or whatever.
I am... letter of Spike Lee. That's for another episode. Yeah, my take is really... Sometimes... again, like I said, there's a reason that somebody's idea got rejected. And it's really an issue with the internet this day, is that it's great that anybody can get their vision out there. Like, the only thing stopping you is you. But sometimes your vision is bad. And
Right.
it's, there should be... Sometimes there needs to be that layer of somebody telling you what's good and what's bad.
You need the checks and balances, because...
And right now, because it's such a young format, Kickstarter, the internet getting all this internet-funded stuff, it's that kind of check and balance isn't there yet.
Right.
I think when it gets there, if it gets there, then it's going to be a really powerful thing.
Right. To quote Jurassic Park, just because you could doesn't mean you should. And also, where was the checks and balances on George Lucas? Am I right?
We're not gonna get into that. But
Don't we love movies on this podcast? I thought we loved things.
Sorry, didn't mean to damper.
it's cool. It's cool. We'll just edit this out. But no, I agree with you for the most part. I think it's a cool way. Like I like that Veronica Mars Kickstarter. I contributed to it as a contributor. I was very satisfied with the end product. I think that Kickstarter is a cool thing. I mean, with a lot of people, and not to Matt earlier was talking about how studios and going through that system and the perception that we get is that going through that system is very hard, and it's very hard to get your idea through there. And if someone was to go through something like Kickstarter, Rob Zombie did his, it wasn't a Kickstarter, but it was a funded site. So, I mean, you look at Rob Zombie as an example, all of his movies were either inhibited by budget or studio notes. House of a Thousand Corpses, studio notes, Lord of Salem, budget. So he asked for a budget, and then he can do whatever he wants, which is what the fans always want, right? That's what the fans bemoan, is studio interference, the fact that he can't execute a vision. So it seems like the perfect solution. But then, on the other hand, sometimes it feels like these things are being held captive, right? Like, we won't make a Veronica Mars movie. You have to give us money for it. You know what I mean? And then on the other hand, you have people who, like Kevin said, it's like, this is not a good idea. You know what I mean? So I do think it's a double-edged sword, but at the end of the day, it makes it for a very interesting time in movies where, it's never over. You could always get something made. So, and for example, with bringing it back to what we're talking about today, Starry Eyes, we had never heard of these guys. I'm going to speak for you guys, never heard of this Kickstarter?
I didn't. Well, I mean, I've heard of the brand Kickstarter.
Yeah, but you didn't hear that these guys are doing
No, I didn't know.
Right, so this got completely funded without our knowledge, came out without our knowledge, and went to home entertainment without our knowledge. So it's like, this is in front of us because of Kickstarter, which is an interesting thing, of guys who had not gotten an opportunity in the past. So, I think it's cool. Why not? You know what I mean?
I support it.
It's in its infancy. Let's let it evolve.
Also,
until it gets bought out by Google, and
I will praise our Google overlords and wait for them to take us to salvation.
Yes.
So we're gonna do a rapid fire. This is about horror movies. Before we get to the rapid fire, one more thing about horror movies. What do you guys want from horror movies? Matt, you said that you weren't as big as a fan. Kev, you like horror movies. You guys both like horror movies, but like, when you watch something, what do you want?
I want it to stick with me. I feel a lot of horror movies, I forget about it as soon as I leave the theater, as soon as I take the DVD out, or quit watching it on Netflix. I feel they just sort of leave my mind. And
so you want something like, maybe not epic is not the right word, but emotionally relevant.
Exactly.
So you're not like a gore hound. You're not like watching Dead Alive.
I mean, I like gore. Don't get me wrong. Like, stuff like that is, I think what I'm more saying is the best horror movies, I think, really stick with you and kind of stay in your head. So they have interesting ideas, or they kind of scare you in ways that are sort of new, not just a bunch of jump scares or anything like that.
See, I think the jump scare gets a lot of flack, and I think it can be done in a good way.
Well.
It can be done well. I think everyone paints it as like a jump scare is lame, but I appreciate
there's a lot of horror movies that are just nothing but jump scares.
Right.
And
to no effect.
Nothing beats a really earned jump scare.
Sure.
Like finding the alien in the air duct in Aliens.
Right.
Like,
Well, that's a jump scare, right? But that's something that's built up. It's more of a suspense rather than a jump scare. Jump scare is like fucking something jumping out, like Jason jumping out. I guess that's kind of earned too. But something just jumps out at you like, it makes a really loud noise. You're like, holy shit, that's.
But isn't that scary? I mean, that's what.
But it's cheap.
for a minute, it's scary.
It just feels cheap.
But
For a fleeting moment, it can be.
Sure.
But if it's really earned, it's like that sticks with you.
But then you're talking more about like tone. You want the overall tone to be something disturbing.
Yeah. I think when I think of horror movie, I think it should really stick with you what kind of fears it brings up. I mean, I said I enjoy gore as much as the next person, but there's a time and place.
Matt Gore, literally the next person, Matt Gore.
Gore. I think I don't think it adds a whole lot. It just kind of adds more of a feeling of, oh, that's gross. Oh, that's unsettling. That's kind of, bleh. I don't really
Strongly disagree.
don't really think it adds too much other than just a scare factor or something that make you cringe or kind of recoil. Yeah. I mean, it's effective for some people, but for me, I do not really think it adds a whole lot. Just showing off, rather.
Okay, strongly disagree. I think I'm the biggest horror fan of us three. I think that's fair to say. Easy to say too.
For sure.
Yes, indeed.
I like horror. I mean, but more than I get scared very easily. I'm the kind of guy where it's like, once they go in that dark room, you know what I mean. Like that's what gets me. You know what I mean, right away. But I kind of just like the macabre subject matter. I think that's what really attracts me. Like I like gore and I like scares, but those two things. I kind of wane. I'll go through a period where I'm really big on gore, really big on scares. I just kind of like the macabre subject matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what really attracts me to the genre, and I don't know. That's what I like. So speaking,
It's what he likes.
that's what I like. That's what I like. So we're gonna go into rapid fire. I'm gonna name some movies. You just give me a yes or no answer. There's no right and wrong. It's Coke and Pepsi. There will be judgment at the end.
Just a yes or no?
Just a yes or a no. And the question, and you guys can play along at home. It'll be weird when you're talking in your car to yourself alone, but you can play along at home.
You wouldn't be the first person to do it.
The question is this a horror movie? And all I gotta say is yes and no.
Okay.
Okay.
We're clear on the rules.
Who goes first? So we don't overlap.
It's gonna go Matt, Kevin, and me.
Great.
And then Matt, and then I'll say the thing again. And then,
Got it.
okay.
All right.
So Alien,
Yes.
Yes.
yes. Silence of the Lambs,
No.
No.
yes. The Thing,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
of course it is. So that's a yes. I shouldn't deviate from the thing. Blue Velvet,
No.
No.
yes. Jurassic Park,
No.
No.
yes. Psycho,
Yes.
No.
yes. Passion of the Christ,
No.
Yes.
yes. The Exorcist,
Yes.
Oh yes.
yes. The Terminator,
No.
Yes-ish.
yes. Carrie,
Yes.
Yes.
yes. Mulholland Drive,
No.
No.
yes. Rosemary's Baby,
Yes.
Yes.
yep. Yes, sorry. Black Swan,
No.
I'm gonna say yes.
I'm gonna say yes as well. The Birds,
Yes.
Yes.
yes. Last one, Jaws,
No.
Yes.
yes.
Okay,
All right.
so every
All
movie
right.
was yes.
Yeah, they're all horror movies.
I mean,
They're all scary, bro. Scary movie's a horror movie.
that's
Boom. We're done. Cut.
a little leap there on that one. But I mean,
Wait, no, let's get into this really quick. Really quick.
with horror,
Hold on. Hold your horses. Rah, rah. So, one could argue, when you take a genre like drama, that's very hard to describe. Okay, let's move away from that. You take a genre like the Western, that's easier to describe. You got horses, you got the desert, you got a certain time in American history, although that you could work with that around that. You know what I mean? They're revolvers, cowboy hats, cowboys, outlaws, trains. That's a Western, right?
One of my film professor would disagree with you.
Well, we're not talking about Westerns.
We're not. That's for another show.
I conveniently will say things and then repudiate people who disagree with me.
exactly.
But I would say that
Please call the police.
a horror movie is, delay that order. A horror movie is anything that is scary and or macabre.
Okay, I feel.
Would you, yes or no? Would you agree with that or disagree with that?
Kinda. I mean, I think that like
Kevin?
you know, all horror movies are scary, but not all scary movies are.
I see where it's going there. No,
Because I mean, there's it's kind of like a breakdown, like things that like are kind of conducive to a horror movie. There's like horror of like a personality, like psycho, someone who's like psychotic, and it's a murderer. That's the word, like Michael Myers or whoever. There's like horror of like Armageddon, where zombies and other whole bunch of other shit. Nature is coming to destroy humanity, and there's a horror of the demonic, which comes from, a religious angle, and it's kind of like
Or an outside force.
yeah, but it has to do with some sort of like
Sure.
spirituality.
Religious. Yeah.
So when you say a movie like Passion of the Christ, like this movie just a guy. It's the story of Jesus. It's like how we classify that as horror. Like,
First things first, have you seen The Passion of the
I
Christ?
have not seen the Passion of the Christ, so if you can explain to me why that would be a horror movie,
It is literally 2 hours of a guy getting tortured to death in viscerally graphic gore ways.
No, it's like 90 minutes of that. They got the half
Listen,
hour build-up.
listen.
pull the runtime. Let's see.
We can easily
Don't
look this
pull
up.
up the runtime.
We can easily look this up. But would you say that 90% of the length of this movie is just a guy getting tortured?
Yes, it's a guy getting flailed maliciously.
And interestingly, as someone who was raised Catholic, you never really, the way they presented that to us was just like, yeah, it was bad. But, bad in the same way that like spilling a glass of juice is bad. But then this is the first time, this movie came out when I was 18 years old. So I've been going to Catholic school for a decade at this point. Since, and you actually, this guy was tortured to death. Tortured for days until he died of torture. And you really went through that. And it was kind of freaky, you know what I mean? And in terms of gore, it was like one of the goriest movies of all time.
But I think that you having all the gore and all the violence, I mean, it seems more suited for like an action movie.
It ain't an action movie. I mean, it's upsetting. You know what I mean? It's not like,
But no,
there's no thrill to it.
Not necessarily an action movie. But it's I don't think it's the horror, because I think there's no idea of the people who are perpetrating. It's like it's just Roman soldiers who are just doing this. There's no personality. There's no face or character that's kind of doing this. It's not really deducive of like a traditional horror movie where you have a character or a force doing this for specific reasons. It's just like it's kind of this quote unquote historical interpretation.
So you got it here first. We're gonna watch one of the movies we're gonna do on this thing is gonna be goddamn Passion of the Christ, and we're gonna see what's up with that movie.
Is it?
Another day. And by another day, I mean never.
And just to wrap this up, I think with Jaws, you said it wasn't a horror movie, and you said it was.
I understand where it can be contradicted, where I say what I think that horror movies are, but I think that the overall tone and the feel is more of a survival action adventure movie, because you get the kind of camaraderie of Roy Scheider and Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw going after Bruce the shark, and you get that story.
Bruce the shark.
It was Bruce.
Name was Bruce.
I would say that if any movie that makes people afraid to do something, by that definition must be a horror movie, right? People were afraid to swim in pools after that you see that movie. You know what I mean?
That's why I think Jaws is a horror.
You know what I mean? I just think that
it can kind of overlap into that field. But I think when I think about it and I see Jaws, I don't see it as a horror movie as the same way I see Alien or The Shining as a horror movie. but I see it more as this is an action adventure with horror elements, I guess. So, horror is a broad term. It's a broad blanket that kind of can go in many different ways.
Indeed.
So, there we have it.
Indeed. All right, so that's it for now, and then we'll come back and we'll see the movie Starry Eyes, available now, Netflix, watch instant.
Here we go.
Okay, we're back.
Yes, we are.
Here to talk about Starry Eyes.
Yeah, we definitely did watch it.
All right, now I think that you didn't watch it. So let's start off with this, and we're gonna start with Kev. Where and when and how did you see this movie?
I watched it on Netflix Instant at my house. I watched it last night.
In the comfort of your own home.
In the comfort of my
You had
own home. I
a
watched
sandwich, glass of wine.
A glass of milk with my peanut butter.
Glass of milk with peanut butter. An interesting pairing with this film.
Yes. Instant watch, Netflix, yesterday afternoon, on an uncomfortable couch.
Shout out to the uncomfortable couch.
I need a new couch. That's all I need.
So if any sponsors out there want to get mad at a new couch.
Couch sponsors.
I will be very much into that.
So I bought this movie on Blu-ray, and I watched it twice. I watched it once with the commentary on, and once the first time was not with the commentary.
And you blind bought it, right? You had not seen it before.
No, I had not seen it. Blind bought it.
Ooh,
Blind
risky.
bought it. Yeah, but very risky. And then I watched it one time all the way through, and then the next day I watched it again, much to the chagrin of my girlfriend, with the commentary on. We can just get right into this. So what did you guys think?
I enjoyed it. I said earlier about I felt like this was the movie that Maps to the Stars really wanted to be, and I stand by that. I think this movie almost out David Cronenberg. Is a very body horror take.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, it's a body horror take on what it takes to be like to kind of sell your soul to the devil. The devil in this case being Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like it.
I literally wrote down. I was 20 minutes in the movie. My third note was I literally wrote Matt hates this.
You definitely called that one. Shocking, right? I'm not a big fan of the horror genre, so it's gonna take from me.
And you didn't watch it with your girlfriend, right?
No, she was there.
So she watched it too.
She watched it too.
Did she like it?
She
We're gonna Skype
said
her in a
that
minute.
Black Swan was a better movie.
Okay, I do see that comparison. They are movies about a girl trying to make it in something and falling apart. I go ahead.
To top that, Showgirls is a better movie than Black Swan.
Oh,
Showgirls
I'm just
is
kidding. Don't.
Showgirls,
right, dude.
Joe Esterhaus. I'm sorry.
we were gonna have some words there.
Yeah, that's
No.
This whole show almost got derailed. But okay, so you did not like the movie.
I did not like the movie.
Would you like to speak on that, or?
I got notes of lots of notes about things that I didn't care for. Let me just pull up those notes. It started off interesting. The title sequence is very interesting.
We're gonna have later. We're gonna come up with our nitpicks and the things that we really liked in little 60-second bursts. And spoiler alert for that opening title card, glorious.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of these things are just gonna be nitpicks.
So we'll save the nitpicks.
Yeah, so I'll save them for later. I think it's just
like, would you say you didn't connect to it? What's the problem?
There was a lot of things going on with the setup of the story. It seemed very streamlined. This is very straightforward, and it kind of reminded me of also House of the Devil, which I thought was a much better movie about people who are evil and needing like a host to have a person carry on the legacy of whatever it was. I just thought that all aspects of it, the acting was kind of stuffy and weird. I thought that didn't really understand where it was going, and when I found out where it was going, it just seemed like these are kind of cheap, easy metaphors. Like, oh, Hollywood, and it's something that we all know very well. And I think that it didn't convey anything interesting or new. It's just a tired story of cost of fame and fortune, and with gross out elements.
Okay, so.
But let's talk about it.
To contextualize my review, I have to say I follow a horror and genre channel on YouTube. So when this movie first came out, that's where I found the trailer. But they also had a clip, and also, by the way, if you're listening to this and not expecting spoilers, you're fucking dumb. So spoiler alert for this whole movie.
You are a retard.
Take it too far, Ken. No.
Yikes. There goes our sponsors.
So that clip that I saw before I saw the movie months and months ago was the scene where she murders her friends. They gave that whole thing away on free on YouTube.
Like the entire murdering the friends sequence?
The stabbing of the girl, and then the
weight to the face.
The weight to the face, thank you. The weight to the face, and then the stabbing the guy's back. So I went in this movie knowing it was going to go there, which I was hoping that wouldn't like kind of be a huge spoiler. Turns out it was a huge spoiler because there's no shot. You know that she's going to go down into depravity. You know that this will take her all the way down. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of ruined it for me. I will say I like this movie, but I didn't love it, and I think that was kind of the problem for me. Is that for you guys it was like, well, what's going to happen? For me, I'm like, I know it ends up here.
Yeah.
So that and that's like the end of the movie. That's like the climax. So whoever put that clip online, fuck you. that is a bad idea.
Agreed. That's terrible. Why do that?
Shame on you for being too curious there.
Yeah, curiosity killed this cat.
Yep.
But overall, I like this movie. I have a slightly different take on it. I think it's kind of a Faustian tale where you sell your soul for the devil, but she doesn't really lose anything. She doesn't. In the end, they reveal like she doesn't like her friends. She has no friends. She only wants her goal, which is become a famous movie star and to be an actress. And so she doesn't have to sacrifice anything. She just gets rid of the things that she doesn't like. And I don't know if it's because it was spoiled for me or if that's a revelation. You know what I mean? It's like, maybe the statement there is the people who succeed are the people who are never attached to anyone to begin with. So stepping on little people is what they want to do, or is it? I feel like the movie's trying to make it seem like it's a sacrifice, but she's not losing anything that she actually wants.
It's also weird how her goal was to be famous, and there was any diving into that character at all. It's like I want to be famous. I don't want to work at the Hooters knockoff. Tate. That was kind of funny.
Big Taters. Oh, by the way, first we need to talk about First of all, the name Big Taters, amazing. The outfits with the fucking not French fry. What are the other potato?
Like russet potato skin.
Oh, no. It was like the leggings that they wore. They were like crop tops and leggings, but the leggings were like tater tot leggings.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's like the pattern was like tater tots, and I feel like that in itself was just. I remember I started clapping when I saw that. That was amazing.
I do want to throw one thing out with the Big Taters. I like they kind of subverted the creepy boss character
completely.
Like in the first scene you see him, it's like, oh, it's
he's the creepster.
Other weird boss doesn't understand.
He likes to look at the girls' asses, and he's probably stripping one of them.
He probably is.
But then later it's revealed, not to step on your statement here, homie, but later it's revealed like this is his dream. His dream, as corny as it is or may not be. This is his dream, and he gives her that big speech of like, this is what I love, this is my vision, and she doesn't react to that. She's just kind of like, she kind of resigns herself to working there. She doesn't learn anything from that speech, which is kind of cool because I feel like the audience is like, you look at that character in a different way. You're like, this is this guy's dream, and you kind of look at now it's like she doesn't give a fuck. She only cares about her dream, and I think that scene kind of establishes
but
that.
Why they build him up as a pervert who wants to just like fuck this girl?
Did they build that up? Or is that a false lead?
I feel like we assume that.
Yeah, I think if you look back on it, she's just.
It was pretty explicit, and like he wanted to fuck her. Like,
I completely disagree with that.
He was like staring at her ass, and he's all the bus boys and the cooks were like giving him mean mug for doing that, and and he's like, I just want to like sleep with this hot chick, and I think that his motives were he wants to keep her on, and that's why he gives her second chances because I think he just wants to do her, and so you have this pervert character that
I don't think that's there. I think he when he the things he says to her is he's giving her shit for looking at her phone and not being interested in the job, and he gives her that speech that this is a good job, and you don't know what to make. I mean, at the time you probably think like he's full of shit, but when she comes back, he's not trying to fuck her. He's not trying to, and this is in contrast to the producer character who's associated with the cult, who does want to fuck her, who doesn't care about her dreams. He just wants to get out of her what he needs, which is the sacrifice. And in contrast, the manager is not trying to make a move on her. He's like, this is a good job, and like I get that you have your own dream, but this is my dream. And I think that scene is a critical turning point in terms of what's being offered with that character.
I still see it as it's just an ulterior motive. That's
fair.
how I perceived it.
That's fair. I do like moving on. I do like how this movie shows a different kind of LA. You know, this is like they show a lot of Hollywood. They show the subway, which most people don't know that.
Oh yeah, the red line.
The red line.
Let's never go on the red line. She go on the red line. She's dressed all sexy to go to her interview. Red line. Don't do that.
So from the commentary, they said that when the train rolls up and she gets on the train, that the producers had gotten on the stop before so that she wouldn't be alone. But the train isn't that bad in LA. But this is not a LA train podcast.
Next podcast.
Save it for the LA train podcast.
I'm writing that down.
Don't write it down now. Okay, I need to know
that Culver City Expo line, fantastic train.
Gold Line gonna extend out further east where no one really wants to go.
Yep. So I do like how they showed that. Interestingly enough, the place where she auditions is like down the street here, where that Target is. So it's like where that cement factory is. Yeah. So I like that. I like how it wasn't like an overly glamorous LA. This is like pretty much real people's experience of LA, where they live in their shitty apartment. They hang out. I didn't connect with her group of friends. I think that the bitchy friend was a little bit too bitchy, and the other friends were a little bit too nothing. Yeah.
A little too millennial.
It's like an old man's view of millennials, and in a certain way, it fits with the theme, right? They're always talking about Instagram, and they're always talking about making a movie themselves, but they're not really doing anything. They kind of like audition all day and then party all night. So it's kind of like an old man's view of millennials. Yeah, so when they die, you don't really feel bad for them because you don't really necessarily like them because you know that they're full of shit. Not that they deserve to be killed for that.
I mean, they're just living and existing. But when you do bring in, it's just something about when you start mentioning things that are very much part of everyday real life, like Instagram and Twitter and all social media. It does take you out of the movie. You realize, like, okay, I'm watching a fucking movie. You're not. It takes you out of the engagement. That's more of a nitpick, but
And it can instantly date a movie too.
Sure.
If Twitter's not around in 5 or 10 years, or Instagram's just not a thing people do.
Yeah, it's like make a MySpace joke.
And it's might as well made MySpace.
It is, but that is how people talk, though. You know what I mean?
I think you can sacrifice realistic dialogue for something that can actually have staying power. Which this movie, watching it, it had no staying
this.
power.
Remember this when you watch It Follows. It's all teaser.
Nice.
Teaser.
Yes.
It's called a teaser.
So
no, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Which I totally meant to do, but go ahead.
Derailed me. It just it takes you out of the experience and the mood, and you want believability, and you want something that's gonna stay with you. It's a good sign of a movie is something that you're not gonna forget about in 20 minutes or an hour. That's gonna stay with you. This movie just kind of came and went.
Okay, so let's talk about the main character, Sarah, played by Alex Esso, which, by the way, I do think that Alex Esso really fucking went for it in this movie. And behind the scenes, on the commentary track, they're talking about there was no stunt double scenes. She did all of her own acting, all of her own, like when she's naked, that's her. When in the end, when she comes up from like the grave and is reborn, she was really like walked down that hill covered in mud, nude. Like she just did it all. And she spit out the bugs, those were real bugs in her mouth. And she was actually disgusted by it, but she's like, no, I gotta do it. She was really down to play, and I feel like that really came through in the movie.
Wait, what was his name? What character's name again?
Sarah.
Oh, okay, because they mentioned it like 500 times. Hey, Sarah, how you doing, Sarah? What are you doing, Sarah? Sarah. Like, just.
I will say I strongly disagree with that, but I did not find it to be distracting.
They did.
I didn't find it distracting.
It stuck out like a sore thumb. You don't need to. You have a scene. If this is radio, that might be different. But this is a scene where there's two characters. We know her name is Sarah. We don't need to keep bludgeoning us with the game of it. That's just bad writing. Nitpick.
Fair enough.
Also, one thing I want to know: who is on the commentary?
The two directors, Kolich and Weidmar, and the producer.
All right.
She is not on the thing.
Gotcha. Just want to get context of who was talking about the movie.
Hey, that's fair. Writers, directors, and...
So let me ask you this. When you were watching the movie the first time, and then you watched the second time with the commentary, did the commentary enhance the movie? Or did you feel differently after you watched...
Oh, well, okay. I'm glad you said that, because they kept talking about how, in their mind, Sarah was always... Sarah was a bad... This is her true self. In the end of the movie, that's her true self. Right?
They sort of hinted that in the movie.
Right.
Like... She has her kind of weird seizure thing that she does, where she pulls her hair out and kind of cranks her neck around. Mm-hmm. And when the one friend falls and breaks her nose, she laughs.
Yes.
At it. It's hinting like she's not this innocent girl who gets corrupted. Like, this is already kind of in her.
See, because I saw it more as like someone that has. She's definitely she's fucking definitely a damaged person, right? That's not really in dispute. But I feel like she has the entitlement that comes with ambition, and she risks disappointment in trying, which her friends don't really do, right? So I didn't think that she was as dark as the movie goes, like willing to kill her for the thing. It does feel like she got, and the way the movie is structured, she only shows her darkness after she meets with the evil cult, right? You don't see her darkness really beforehand. You see it a little bit when she's freaking out, but that seems normal. That seems like that's what actresses go through, right? And then she meets with the this cult, and then they start bringing it out of her. So it's interesting that because that's what the directors intended. They intended you to think she was dark before, and then the cult is just acknowledging it, and then she embraces her true self. That's what she says to that dude after she stabs him in the end. The guy who lives in the van.
Yeah.
By the way, that house and that van is the producers know people who, like, it's a band, and they live in that house and in that van. Someone actually lives in that van.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, so
So I didn't see it that way. I thought she was just someone who has ambition in it, and with the wrong influence it ruins her. Matt, how did you see her as a character?
just very one-dimensional, very unbelievable. Like her, I guess you kind of gave me an alternate way of thinking about how her personality is just sort of, she is shitty and evil and bad, and it takes the cult to kind of bring it out of her. Otherwise, because you're like, why is she so gung-ho and being famous? Why is she so naive when she does these things? She's like, when you go into, I can't speak because I've never gone on an audition. I've never, had to take off my clethes in front of anyone. I will not divulge now.
This is a place of truth. Don't act like you've never gotten naked for the entertainment of. No, I'm just kidding.
It's true. I do like to be naked. But there's
Wait a minute. There's also revelations.
There's also
save it for the Naked podcast.
Naked podcast.
We talk about the joys of being nude. No, so a lot of things is what makes a movie effective, especially a horror movie, is reality and believability of things. So when you go, if you're going to go into an audition, or if you're going to go for a part that has nudity in it, it's either you are super comfortable doing it, like I have no problem doing that, or you would be like, I'm not comfortable with this, I'm going. Not like this sort of, I don't know, I just like I could. Maybe.
Were you referring to that one scene with the spotlight audition?
Yeah, where they're like, you need to have your clothes. Like, they keep on pushing her to like do more outlandish things, and she's like very hesitant. I'm like, as an actress, if you're going into that, you either know if you're comfortable with that or not. It's no like second guessing. It just seems very unbelievable that her character is doing that.
Well, she wasn't comfortable with it, and then they pushed her to do it, and then she.
But that just seems very weird.
Well, it's the thing that Kevin was saying, where it's like she's really this dark person, and she's Batman in reverse, right? She's like she has this alter ego of her being like a nice person, but she's really like this dirty fucking dark murderous chick. You know what I mean?
Somebody with murderous intent.
So, she thinks that she should say, I shouldn't do this, but she really wants to. And she's figuring that out about herself as the movie goes along.
Okay, so she...
You didn't see that, though. You didn't... Not that you didn't see that. You just didn't... What you got out of that movie was not that.
I got something different. So when you're saying it now, it's like, okay, I guess that sort of can be a plausible explanation. But when first watching it, the character choices did seem a little bit unbelievable. Like, why is she, and the thing is, like, like I asked, why is she doing all this? Why she want to be famous so bad?
There's a quote in professional wrestling, to make it, some people give it their all, but the people who actually make it will do anything, right? Like, if you give your own personal all, like what you are, that's up to a limit. But the people who really, make it will do anything. You know what I mean? I think that's what kind of person she is. She has like this ambition that is, scarily unlimited, to the point of they're like murder your friends, and she's like, gladly. You know what I mean? So it's like the dark side of ambition. This movie.
Okay, so she will stop at nothing to fulfill her dream.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then these guys offered it to her, and she took it. You know what I mean? And then in the end of the movie, she.
I mean, and also another thing, when she goes on her rampage and kills all of her friends, and she claims that everyone's using her, it's like that idea, notion didn't come across. It just seemed like everyone was trying to make their own place for it. I think they all were trying to look for each other to help each other out, and she kind of was like, I don't like.
No, she's definitely not interested in helping any of them. She's definitely not a character. Her character is not interested in making their movie or being a part of their Instagram thing. She just wants to make quote unquote legit movies. You know what I mean?
Or even being a part of their circle. Almost any time she looks at them, she's far away, and they're
the only time
filmed with a zoomed in lens.
Right. She's the only time she's really a part of them is after she does the drugs with the guy in the van, whose name escapes me at the moment, and then they jump in the pool, and that lasts about 5 minutes, and then soaking wet, she goes back and calls the production company and says, let's go.
Let's do this.
I'll S that D.
And she did, and with disastrous results.
Also, one of the friends played by the son of Gene Simmons.
Yes,
of Kiss.
Yeah, the guy who she literally stabs in the back.
Yes.
Not to be confused with the actress opposite Kirk Douglas in Spartacus.
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah, not
that. Inside joke.
This is
not really.
Fire spitting, long tongue, blood out of the mouth. Bass player Gene Simmons.
Okay.
His son.
Just want to make sure we're getting that right.
Yep.
Kiss
for all you listeners.
Kiss forever.
Kiss Army, baby.
You guys, Kev, you got anything else to add here?
Let me take a look at my notes here, see what I got.
Matt, you also looking at your notes?
Something I noticed visually is when she goes in that first audition, she's in kind of a reddish shirt, and everything else is very cold. Like the people giving the audition are in really dark blues. The hallway is very white. The room is very white.
Mm-hmm.
And as she goes through her transformation, she's in those kind of same colors as the hallway. And we don't ever see color really in her again until her eyes are green. And she rises up as this movie starlet. But even then, she's in a black dress with black hair. So I think it visually kind of showed her progression too.
Interesting.
As someone who projects I'm this sort of innocent girl in this world, and it shows.
But that's a costume.
Exactly. That's a costume. Exactly. And the Hollywood world is this very cold, sterile, no color world.
Right.
And it's sort of her ultimate transformation. She's in dark black with dark black hair, and her skin is very white, and I think it visually kind of showed that progression. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, another interesting thing, and we can circle back on that if you have something to add, Matt. But another interesting thing is her hair, and when in the arc of her hair.
Let's talk about the arc of her.
No, it's legit. It's like she pulls her hair. And it normalizes her, right? She starts freaking out. She starts going crazy. And she pulls her hair, and it brings her back to reality. But then she loses a little bit of it every time. And then as the movie goes on, after she keeps doing this, and then she gets infected with the dark seed, and then her hair starts falling out, right? And she starts going bald. It's falling out without even her touching it. So she's pulling her hair when she's auditioning and freaking out and stuff. Then she sucks the guy's dick. Then her hair is getting really thin as her body starts to zombify. And then after she cuts the bitchy friend in the mouth, she takes a couple steps back and she pulls her hair again, and her scalp comes out with it, right? And then it pans back to her face, and she's goes numb, and then she starts murdering everyone, and the dude hilariously slips on her scalp.
Yeah.
Gene Simmons' son. And then when she's reborn through the cult, she's bald, and she has no more humanity. Her hair's her return to humanity, and then when she loses the hair, she has no more humanity. And in the end, she puts on a wig, so she puts on this false sense of human.
Yeah, she looks like the Borg Queen at that one scene.
Like a hotter, nakeder version of the Borg Queen.
Yeah, debatable.
Listen. This isn't. I don't want to be crass. She's a very attractive woman,
but she did look like the Borg Queen.
And I even liked her bald. That bald head looked pretty sweet.
Immaculately bald.
Yeah,
it was uncannily bald.
Yeah. Journey.
Like Lex Luthor bald.
Do you have any thoughts?
Yes.
You have any thoughts on the color or hair thing, Matt? Any additional thoughts?
No, not really.
Did that work for you? Did y'all notice it, or did you notice it and it's just whatever? Or
about her
the color in the hair?
The color in the hair. I didn't really pay much attention to it, to be honest. So there you go.
All right.
I want to throw a shout out. Do we know what the budget for this movie was, what they raised on Kickstarter?
They raised. Fuck. I had this. 1 second.
No problem.
All right, well, we'll talk about other things in the meantime. Also, could they not afford a Steadicam? I want to know. Or
That's
a
something-
dolly track.
I'm gonna throw that out too. That was a few things like
Because there's a time and a place for handheld camera work, and sometimes you can't just make a dogma movie and do that, or try to make a dogma movie.
Yeah, that is something in a few scenes I did find distracting was the shaky camera work.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
Roman Polanski can make a scene creepy and lock his camera down.
No, he had a funny joke about that. He hates Steadicam, not Steadicam, well, probably Steadicam, but he hates handheld shots. He, I guess, referred to him as either the person had Parkinson's or they're jerking off. Really poor taste, even for Roman Polanski. But it is kind of true. It's like,
You are a tasteless human being.
but just fucking get a dollar, get a wheelchair or something. I don't know. Just you can make it happen. It's okay.
We're talking. I didn't notice that actually. I didn't notice that it was all shaky. I mean, there's something to be said though, right? If it's a character who's unglued, it makes sense. In the movie is in her perspective, it makes sense that the camera would shake. You know what I mean?
But by contrast, when you watch The Shining and everything is pretty much pinned down to a dolly or a Steadicam, it's a much more unnerving and crazy because you're not getting telegraphed the sense of this character. You're inferring more, which is more powerful. Versus when you have a handheld, it's like.
I think there's a time and a place for handheld, I think. But there were parts in this film where it was a little distracting that it was handheld. I'll agree with that. So that's part of my notes.
And I did not notice that, so.
So see, there you go. I want to go back because I asked about the budget. Because
Okay, so really quick. They raised $52,614 on Kickstarter of a $50,000 goal. I don't know how much of that they actually collected because Kickstarter's weird like that.
Yeah.
And that wasn't. I do not believe that was their entire budget. I think. I don't know.
I bring it up because the makeup work was pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
I was impressed by just how gross, but how visceral her deterioration.
Yeah.
It did a good job.
Completely agree.
It's they do it better than some Hollywood movies.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was
Well,
just very just gross, and it made you feel gross.
Right. The movie's kind of a slow burn when it comes to the horror. So I feel like once they got there, though, they were willing to go all the way, right? So it's like, when she looks bad, let's make her look real fucking bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not like, let's make her, let's hold back. They really went for it. And I mean, I think same can be said for the violence.
Yeah, agreed.
Matt, your take on the makeup effects?
No, that's all right. They don't really have too much to say about it. It was apparent that they did take time and energy to make realistic effects. If they would have worked on the script a little more, it would have been better.
What would you want from the script more than that?
I would want better dialogue. It did seem like this was from just a guy's perspective on how people, especially female characters, act and talk. I felt in it, and I felt there was like a weird male gaze of the look of the movie where it's like too exploitive. I understand the theme and the concept is to exploit, but it's like, do we have to like show like. It's a cliche of horror movies. Like, let's just put the girls in really skimpy outfits. Like, I think it's just kind of reaching out to try to be interesting and to be like, oh, look at this naked girl, or like, look at her tits. I think that's a little.
You talking about the nudity in the end of the movie?
The nudity.
She's being reborn.
I understand that.
Usually not reborn with some khakis on.
You could shoot it tastefully without any nudity. You could also.
So Matt Fonagara against nudity.
I hate it. Ironic because I love getting naked.
You keep going back to that when we really try to distance ourselves from it, but that's okay.
Speaking of damaged people,
too far, Kev.
I'm a fan.
None of this will be cut out from the final edit. You're all monsters, including myself, especially me.
it's on record.
It's on record. I don't really agree with that. I think we as the audience look at Big Taters as exploitative. I don't think in the beginning we're not looking at it as like, oh, this is cool. We're looking at it like this is real fucking lame, right? Because we're on her side. And then later, even when Pat Healy's character, the guy with the mustache, talked about how this is his dream, I think that's really well written. Where he's still acknowledging it's corny and it's it's kind of.
He was the only character I actually liked in that movie.
Right.
Ironically,
right? No, but he was
the only interesting one.
They redeem him. He gets redeemed.
Yeah, he's the
right?
only
his
actually
ambition
interesting character.
And the thing is, his ambition doesn't ruin anyone, right? He's offering people an opportunity. One could argue that it's stupid, cliche, and exploitative, but that's him. And then the way the character is shown in the whole movie, she's shown she's not in sexy outfits the whole movie. She's wearing like dresses and stuff, and then when she turns into a zombie, she's wearing what you would wear around the house, right? She's wearing like a tank top and some underwear. You know what I mean? And then when she dies and is reborn, she's nude, which you would be for a rebirth. You know what I mean?
Also, is she a succubus and she's making out with that chick and eating her face?
Well, she gets the powers. I mean, she gets the powers.
Well, I guess that kind of took a leap. Like, oh, is that how her illness or her takeover of her body works? Like, she needs to feed on the essence of her roommate. Like, it takes leaps and bounds. And like, can you just give me a little bit of bridge to find out like why this is?
But I think that true horror comes in not knowing, right? The true horror is like. The true horror of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like you get a little bit, but you don't know why they're really doing this. You get little hints, and the same thing here. Where it's like that basically this cult indoctrinates people into the Hollywood elite by having them sacrifice the people who mean something to them, and really the mechanics of how that work should be shown, but don't really need to be said. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be said like, what's happening to you right now is there's a demon inside of you that's eating your body. The way you need to satiate the demon is by killing your friends. It'll eat their souls, leave you with its power, and then you can kiss people and they'll bleed to death through their mouth or nose or whatever. You don't need to say that. You know what I mean? It just, you don't need to say that globally. I feel like that wouldn't add anything to really explain on a literal to have the mad scientist character come out and be like, so the way Godzilla works is, you know what I mean? You don't really need that, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I think there's some power in mystery.
Thank you, Kev. All of those words I said, power and mystery. Matt, not a fan of mysteries. Or a fan of them. Hate them.
No, they're all right. Yeah, I don't really.
All right. I mean, is there anything else you guys want to say? I mean, I kind of got my thoughts out pretty early here.
If you're looking for a metal band name, Maggot Barf would be pretty solid.
Doom metal.
Yep, that'd be a good doom metal.
Maggot barf.
Maggot Barf.
Awful.
Yeah,
awful, but you're right.
All right. Yeah, I don't have much else to add aside from our nitpicks.
Okay, so let's
dive into if you want to do that.
We can do. I want to do 60 seconds of nitpicks and 60 seconds of awesome things. If you guys are down for such a game.
Yeah.
Where is
Okay.
You got a stopwatch?
Got my phone here,
Right.
all synced up. It's got a stall for time while I unlock it and pull up this app. Here we go. So I got 1 minute on the clock. 60 seconds. What do you want to do? Nitpicks first, or you want to do fucking awesome things?
Let's do nitpicks.
Nitpicks.
All right, 60 seconds of nitpicks. Just shout them out. Don't talk over people. We're all friends, bros. It's better when you're naked. Go.
I think they abandoned the synth score a little too much in the movie. I think they got used in the beginning, used in the end, middle, not so much. I'm a sucker for a good synth score.
Yeah, that was a John Carpenter ripoff score there. Did not care for it.
The friends weren't likable enough, so their death wasn't as impactful. I think the deaths were impactful, but not as much as they'd be if we actually liked them.
Agreed.
The line, didn't know this was being taped, like, every audition is taped. No audition would be not taped. Like, that's just unbelievable.
I agree with that as well.
Only white girls want to be actresses in this town. All of her friends are white.
That's actually true. The effects of stabbing were a little cartoony. They were a little bit like squish, 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 and which was a visually upsetting scene, but still a little weird.
And man, that weight bashing scene could have had a couple shots taken out of that, and it would have been as
just like a lot.
Potentially more effective.
Yeah, it's just like too much showing of the blood and gore. It's like, yeah, we get it,
All right, that's time. Last nitpicks. Any last ones? Buzzer beaters, go.
I got mine.
Matt. Okay, you're done. Terrible. All right, so that was our nitpicks. Things that bothered us, but whatever. I'm gonna. And also, ironically, I think some of my awesome things are gonna be your guys' nitpicks.
We'll see.
60 seconds on the clocks. Go Big Taters. Great, hilarious.
Big Taters was awesome. Throwing the money in the face, laugh my ass off.
Opening titles being very 60s.
Yeah.
Would love
60s,
that.
70s, yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely love that.
I do that. Love the Roman numeral
Right.
title with the title. Yeah, it's good.
Also, the go ahead.
When she snotted in the fries, I thought that was
I didn't notice that.
quite gross.
Indeed, when she
Oh no, I didn't notice that part. But
murdering her friends were brutal. I like the fucking bashing of the head thing.
They were nasty.
Alex Esso leaves nothing on the table and goes for it. I respect that.
fighting over the French fries when she's too sick to work. It's kind of funny.
The leggings, so good. Those leggings, the fucking potato leggings.
Kind of silly.
I like how her friends talk naturalistically, and the cult was very strange. I like that.
Don't agree with that.
I like the
dialogue,
I like
but-
the cinematography underneath the sheets, where she was talking to her friend underneath the sheets, like that.
We haven't talked enough about. It was quite awesome. I think the two auditioners and the producer were great, creepy characters.
Yes.
And fine.
Overacting.
I disagree. All right, that's it for that. Any last minute awesomes?
Nah.
Again, the gore effects, awesome.
Yes, I disagree. I think the cult was definitely a decision for them to be, and I think it goes to what Kevin was saying, where she's something's wrong with her to begin with, right? Because the cult calls her at 5 in the when she gets that call back, she gets it at 1 o'clock in the morning when she's at the party. She gets another call back at 5 in the morning. They're acting. They act really weird. They talk very strange. All of them talk very strange. They're not normal people. Anyone would be suspicious of this, but she is not suspicious of this. And even when the guy tries to fuck her in his office, after she tells her friend on the sheet, she's almost like, when she's telling her the story, she's almost like, I should have done it. Like I fucked up. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think the cult being weird is, especially in comparison to her friends, is a choice. Now, you could not like it, but I do think it was a choice. It wasn't an accident. Nothing that bad.
Of being a choice.
Yeah, like they definitely were deliberately making the cult talk strangely.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
Begrudgingly conceding to that point. All right, let's give it a moment for this.
Hold for helicopter.
yeah. We are in LA
We'll
after
have
all.
15 seconds of silence. And we're back. So, I have some last minute wrap up questions here. You guys want to get into these or what?
I mean, yeah, that's the whole point, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so,
We're not just gonna listen to you.
oh, yeah, I was gonna, my original idea was I would just talk and respond and you guys would respond to my responses. But we can do this way too, that'd be great. So it's a Faustian tale, right? We learned this going through Deal with the Devil. Is that something, is that a kind of story that you're interested in?
Oh, I'm always interested in those. So it's
Angel Eyes being another tale of Faustian blah blah blah
I
blah.
mean, Rosemary's Baby, obviously.
Yes.
It's very. No, I think they're very interesting stories about,
About the cost of getting what you want.
yeah, the cost of getting what you want and different perspectives about the meaning of the world and what the world needs.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
what these cults see the world as, like this person's gonna be the savior of this world.
Right.
Yeah, I think those are interesting.
Matt?
I don't really know what Faustian means.
Deal with the devil. Just you.
Oh.
Is this tale where the
Deal with
guy
the
makes a deal, a lifetime of bliss to sell your soul for eternal punishment. So it's like that's like those kinds of stories.
It's kind of a. It does seem kind of a cut and dry premise, so it's really hard to execute it kind of well. So that's my thought on it.
It's not something I seek. I wouldn't say like, oh yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm really interested in. You know what I mean? But
Definitely hold
I did like it here. Although I did struggle with like, is it truly did she truly lose anything? And I don't think she did. You know what I mean? Like, unless she gets arrested for this. But then the heavy implication is that she will now be a celebrity. You know what I mean? Like all of the, like all of this in the vein of all of the stars that were on her room. You know what I mean?
And kind of a cynical take of like, yes, all of these girls did this exact same thing.
Right.
basically.
This is what it takes to do this.
This is all
That's
these
kind of the
famous
message. Yeah.
actresses who are these lifelong icons. They did the same thing. Like that's kind of a bleak message.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak.
I mean, it's not kind of. It is a bleak message.
So this is a body horror movie. body horror, something David Cronenberg kind of really gets the credit for pioneering. When what's haunted is not the house; it's you in your body. Do you guys like body horror?
Yes.
I like Dead Ringers.
You like Dead Ringers, but that's it. No scanners, no.
Oh, scanners.
Yeah, I kind of don't like scanners. Yeah, it's kind of boring.
What?
And-
I like scanners.
I'm gonna write that down. We're gonna do scanners next.
It's interesting. I mean, that's. I kind of take objection to the term body horror because it's like, what's that difference between psychological horror? Because it's say within the body, it's within the mind. What sets those two apart?
Well, I think body horror is your physical being. Like in this
your
movie,
body transforms into other things, The Fly or
exactly,
or any David Cronenberg. When you think about every David
any
Cronenberg,
David Cronenberg horror movie, yeah,
it's like they all transform their body. Weird gun coming out of his James Gunn's stomach.
Videodrome.
Yeah, what a weird
Black
movie.
Swan also would be
Body horror.
Body horror. Movie.
Did she?
Have you not seen Black Swan?
I've not seen Black Swan.
No. Yeah, she transformed. Spoilers for Black Swan.
Graphically?
Well, fucking, we're not gonna. This is not the Black Swan podcast.
Could be.
Yeah. Well, to answer your question, yes.
Okay.
She turned into a Black Swan of all things.
In Aronofsky fashion, you gotta have a gross out moment.
It's not gross. I mean, I didn't find it to be gross, but I have high tolerance.
Then we're getting off topic here.
Yeah, sure.
There's no maggot barf.
Yeah, there's no maggot barf. That's for sure.
Would that movie make it 10 times better if it had maggot barf?
No.
Okay. Just making sure.
I like body horror because you can escape a haunted house, but you can't escape yourself. You know what I mean? I think it really speaks to.
It's a good tagline, by the way.
It's fucking
Body horror the movie.
Call me, guys. And also, it speaks to a body dysmorphia that I think a lot of people have, right? A lot of people look at themselves and are not satisfied. And I think it's an interesting thing to explore. Any other thoughts on body horror? Moving on. So, film is kind of slowly paced, slow burn to the horror. You like that?
I did. It kept me interested the whole time. Sometimes these slower burn movies, I think they just don't have any ideas in them, and that's why they're slow burn movies. Mm-hmm. But I think this one, it worked effectively, kind of building up the mystery.
Right.
And
Which was ruined for me because I knew where it was going.
Yeah, because you fucked up.
I mean, yeah.
I fucked up.
Don't watch clips.
There was like the build up, but it felt like it was like a build up to like a whole lot of like nothing interesting. It was it's a very simple story. And when it took the turn when she starts killing her friends, I'm like, what? Like, what? I wasn't sure what kind of movie this is trying to be. A slasher movie, or trying to be a, what kind of movie is trying to be?
But that's something I take. Is there intrinsically, if a story is simple, is that a bad thing? I mean, I feel like we're trained as moviegoers to want like complicated, twisty kind of shit, Shyamalan-ish, if you will, and this movie kind of follows a linear path, right? She starts off on a dark track and she fucking sees it through, and there is no twist, right? The twist is that she'll do it happily. That's the twist, right? And I feel like there's movies like The Counselor and other things that came out where there's simple tales and there's no big reveal. And is that a bad thing?
Absolutely not. I think we need more simple stories.
Yeah, I mean, I think that overly complex plot and twists are kind of getting played out and they're kind of lame. On the other hand, if a movie's too simplistic and it's not really saying a whole lot, then it's like, okay, you gotta rethink it. But,
All right. This movie, Thin Veil, yes or no answer. We're not, in the spirit of not being actionable, yes or no answer for this question. Is this movie a thin veil for Scientology?
No.
No.
Okay. we could have had fun with that question, but you guys are no fun at all. Do you think the thesis of what do you guys think the thesis of the movie is? Is it that fame is something that is the price of fame is not easily paid, or what do you think the thesis is?
Fame is a sickness.
Ooh, I like that.
A disease.
It's also the tagline. Your tagline. That flash thesis.
Or maybe not just fame, but just Hollywood. Like, the whole process is a sickness. Like, it's a physical ailment.
I don't know. I think that the thesis would make more sense if this movie was made in like the 70s, where the turnabout of the sleaziness aspect of Hollywood started coming about. I mean, it's always been there, but like when we get in the 70s and 80s, you get a more sleazy vibe from Hollywood, and this is kind of coming from, and it also gives these characters not enough credit of being smart enough to know that there's doing shitty things to get ahead or doing shitty things. I think that's kind of a cliche of the past. I don't think it's really a present day kind of thing. I mean, people are going to get famous, but what ends up happening, they just become strippers or prostitutes or drug dealers or whatever, any sort of, or they work in a restaurant, you know?
It's all the same, you know, fucking selling your pussy for money and serving up tater tots.
Yeah.
Whatevs. No, I mean, Hollywood was sleazy in the 70s, but it was also sleazy in the 80s, which was full of, you know,
I said 80s too.
Cocaine-fueled, crazy decision-making, VHS money driving everyone nuts. But I mean, even it's sleazy even now. I mean, there's rumors of famous directors who I will not name at this point.
Famous producers, recently.
Yeah, who we will not name at this
Famous
point.
sound editors too.
I don't know what you're talking about, but which we will not name at this point. Who do the casting couch thing? Who take sexual favors? Who throw coffee in people's faces and act terribly? And it's even worse in this corporate environment where it's like all major studios are controlled by major corporations that really have a zero tolerance policy for all of these things in their offices. But yet on a film set, which is an extension of their business, these things go unfettered. You know what I mean? So I mean, I think there is a general naivety of people who come to LA and think it's going to be one way. Like it's general.
It's kind of a hard sell. It's a hard leap to like know that it still exists.
I think that's because we're a little bit older and we all went through our naivety. But I think when you're a kid and you want to be something, you want to be it because you want to be it because of what it appears to you. You don't know what that's actually like, right? If you want to be an actor, you don't understand like the auditioning process and negotiating terms in terms of where your name should be in the credits, and you know, a main role versus a supporting role, and you know, if you steal scenes, how they might edit you out of the movie because you're stealing scenes from the star and the star's stealing the movie and you're undercutting the star and the star's agent is friends with the producer and you're in the way. You know, people don't understand the business. And I mean, listen, homie, I don't fucking understand this business, so I'm making a goddamn podcast. But you know what I mean? I feel like that naivety is something that people who come into it who have not made it definitely have.
Something the locations manager on the ward said when us PAs were hauling like air conditioners and stuff and just hauling stuff all day and it's hot and it's sweaty. He always told us that's movie glamour coming out of you. You know, it's like, it's a kind of a grimy, nasty job.
Right.
And it's, you know, it's not in the 50s and 60s, the glitz and the glamour. It's like, it's just right under that surface is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into doing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will say if this movie took place in the 70s or 80s, it would have made it for a better movie.
Oh, also, I fucking love the score of this movie with the weird like what's that word? How do you describe her theme? It's like I don't know. It's like bells or some shit.
It was like a glockenspiel.
Sure. Yes, yeah. I love it. And then as the movie went on, it got dark. It was darker, and they put like more like deeper notes in it and stuff. I love that, man.
Yeah, the score was cool.
I'm gonna buy this soundtrack.
They do it. So.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that's all I got. Does anyone want to wrap this up with anything?
Double check my notes here, Matt.
Another nitpick. Going back to that, I got a few. Also, I don't like it when movies do the jump cut from something crazy and the soundtrack is going off the fucking wall, and then just silence, nothing. She's doing nothing. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. It's kind of
so
annoying.
the scene that you're talking about is when she is having a seizure in her bed, and then it hard cuts, and it's like building up and shaking and stuff, and it hard cuts to her like a dead bug on the floor, and there's no sound of any kind, and she looks dead, and then she kind of starts breathing slowly. Right?
Yeah, I don't like that.
I love that scene.
It can be effective. It can be overused, but I think they used it well in this movie. That technique.
All right. So
I guess my closing statement is I think that this person should have tried to make their own movie instead of just trying to pack in as many of horror cliches and styles from other movies, to make it their own. I think that there was a lot of borrowing that I think that they could have been more inventive and interesting than just doing the same tropes of the jump scares and the.
Are there jump scares in this movie? There's not
I
any jump
specifically
scares.
know there are no jump scares.
Maybe, well, I guess.
Did you watch the same movie that we did, or no?
Did you watch A Star Is Born?
I might have, which is also a terrible movie. Actually, I've only seen one version of it.
Okay. But so to wrap up your thoughts on this movie, didn't really like it.
No, I didn't care for it.
I thought it was an interesting body horror take on the Hollywood satire genre, which I think is kind of its own little subgenre. So I enjoyed it. I thought for a low budget, a low budget movie, it was overall well shot, good production values, good, solid performances. I thought it was an interesting take, and while not perfect, these filmmakers are worth keeping an eye on. I'm curious to see what they'll do next.
Yeah, I definitely want to see what these guys' follow-up is, and I'd say I liked it. I didn't love it, and I probably would have loved it if I didn't know anything going into it, but I fucked myself on that one.
Yep.
Killing it.
Show 'em fall.
Killing it. So yeah, and I think a lot of it worked for me, and I think it's an interesting movie, and I interpret what's going on is the ambition that comes with. It's about ambition and transformation, and how that could be a negative thing. And I think that's an interesting thing to talk about. I think it's interesting to talk about in the context of current day Hollywood, and people trying to make their own thing, and is that what you really even want to be a part of? And I feel like it was an interesting movie, and worth watching. It made me think, and I enjoyed even on the second viewing. I thought it was, interesting thing to take away from that.
That's good, especially with horror movies. They tend to not hold up on second and third viewings, I think. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if it does that, then that's great.
Looking at you, I know what you did last summer. Looking at you. All right, so that's it for us. This first episode, a rambling mess, perhaps, but you know what? You loved it. So we're gonna sign off here. Check us out next time. Kev?
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep going to the movies.
Matt?
Oh, yeah, gotta see you later. Talk about next week.
No, we're not gonna.
Oh, I'm about next week?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want to hear about the next episode, tune in, motherfuckers. Subscribe.
Check on our social media campaign that we are launching. Maybe we'll see.
That was a. If you heard movement, that was me shrugging.
Now I got nothing else to say.
All right. Catch you later, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.